Hello, hello, hello. It is me, your True Hill Phenom SP3, back once again with Collision Discourse, number 23 for the February 3rd, 2024 edition of AEW Collision. Thank you so much if you're watching this video. We appreciate the love and support for every episode of Collision Discourse. This one a little bit late in the week. We're dropping it on a Wednesday for all you fine people of the True Hill Heat community. So if you appreciate the content, if you like what we do here, remember the quickest way to show your appreciation is to drop the thumbs up on this video and share this video with all your wrestling fans, friends, and family on all your favorite social media platforms. If you're new to the True Hill Heat YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button, hit the bell to stay notified for all the great content here. Usually Collision Discourse, we are live with you and we love to interact with all of you in the live chat. If you're watching the premiere, you can also do that. But most of all, most importantly to me, I want to interact with all of you. And since it's a pre-recorded edition of Collision Discourse, let me know in the comments down below what you thought about the February 3rd, 2024 edition of AEW Collision, because many people are calling this the best episode of Collision ever. Let me know what you think. That is some people's opinion. I'll let you know mine. And we'll go through it at a brisk pace because no sober guy JJ this week. He was unable to record this with me. So let's get into it. The February 3rd, 2024 edition of AEW Collision was from Edinburgh, Texas. So you know it was a hot crowd because, as Jimmy McElram says, it was a slave state. Thumbs up for that. And honestly, this was a top to bottom great episode, kicking off with AEW Continental Crown Champion Eddie Kingston going one-on-one with Bryan Keefe. Bryan Keefe, the bounty hunter, has been one of the best independent wrestlers in the world today, and he has been showing out as of late for AEW and Ring of Honor. He had a star-studded standout weekend during Final Battle weekend when he performed in the Survival of the Fittest for the Ring of Honor World Television Championship. He's had great performances on ROH TV, more recently against Claudio Castagnoli, and this one was kind of like a sequel to that matchup where he pushed Claudio to the brink, but really he just showed his resilience and kicking out of big moves, and he did that here. Eddie Kingston firing up with chops, but Keefe is able to manage to put him down and come back with some hard chops of his own. Eddie has to pull out the spinning bat fist not once but twice to get the win in this one. This one got plenty of time, 15 minutes, 17 seconds. This one really got going towards the end in a hard-hitting fight. A great opener to this show. Eddie Kingston picking up the win with the Oregon and this proving ground matchup that really was a proving ground because it showed out so much for Bryan Keefe. Another great performance by him that Tony Khan announces through the medium of Tony Schiavone after Eddie Kingston thanks the fans and tells Tony Schiavone to talk to Bryan Keefe. He reveals that he is now officially hashtag all elite. Big round of applause for Bryan Keefe in his home state of Texas. We got Eddie Kingston and Bryan Keefe having a hug together. Bryan Keefe very emotional here, and Bryan Keefe deserves this. He's a guy that has a lot of talent. He is so hard hitting, so gritty in the ring, can really have a fight, shows that physicality that a lot of fans want from professional wrestlers today, and you got to love that. And after the matchup, the American Dragon Bryan Danielson comes out to the ring and walks by Eddie Kingston, completely ignoring him, and raises Bryan Keefe's hand. Great start to the show. We come back from commercial break, and the Blackpool Combat Club's Jon Moxley isn't happy with the CMLL stars attacking him on AEW Dynamite this week, and now he says the Blackpool Combat Club is waiting for them, and he even teases them coming to their home in Arena, Mexico. This leads us to what I thought is a standout matchup. A early AEW match of the year candidate, in my opinion. Hechicero of CMLL going one-on-one with Bryan Danielson of the Blackpool Combat Club. Hechicero, the best way I could describe him is he is Mexican Bryan Danielson. These two guys just blended so well in the ring, starting with the groundwork, trading off Mexican surfboards. We get Hechicero putting on the speed, putting on the boosters. You would think a guy his size couldn't fly, but no, he can fly. He flies over the ring, strikes away, big chops to Bryan Danielson. Bryan Danielson has to headbutt at Hechicero, attacks to the arm. Great, unique, innovative submissions throughout this one. At one point, he does a great leg lariat into a head scissors onto the ground that nearly looked like it took Bryan's head off. Jesus Christ, this match was fantastic. Bryan locking on the label lock. Hechicero has to slip out on a couple of occasions. He ties up the legs while cranking on the arms as well. That's broken up. Hechicero misses a knee in the corner, allowing Danielson to pull him in. Hechicero gets in a reverse Koji clutch, but Bryan's able to reverse that into a cradle for the 1-2-3. Bryan Danielson barely escaping this, not even winning, escaping this one with a cradle to pick up the victory here against Hechicero in a star-making performance for Hechicero. He is one of the top stars for CMLL, but he is not a star in America. And this one was a statement. This showed you his great entrance with using the fire and the flames, which immediately just captivates you and brings you into his whole character and his whole vibe that he brings. And then putting him in the ring with Bryan Danielson, who looked like he was having the most fun that he has had inside the square circle in a very long time. This was beautiful professional wrestling at its finest. One of the best TV matches of the year so far, and one of the best AEW Collision matches I have seen. And that's the second week in a row I'm saying that after the steel cage matchup to main event last week's show. After the match, Hechicero attacks Bryan Danielson from behind, leading to Claudio Castagnoli to make the save. This all setting the stage for this coming Wednesday tonight. You can join us 8 p.m. Eastern Time here on Elite Heat. CMLL stars Hechicero, Volador Jr. Yeah, I think that's it. Yeah, that's Hechicero, Volador Jr., and Mascarero El Dorado 2.0 versus the Blackpool Combat Club's Claudio Castagnoli, Bryan Danielson, and Jon Moxley. We go backstage to DG, FTR, FT, Garcia, talking about all the names. They didn't expect this team to work out the way it has, but they'll keep it going, and they keep it going tonight against the Patriarchy. Dax Harwood talks about how the rankings are back, and they didn't rank in the tag team division, but they did rank in the trios division. So how about they go for those trios championships? Daniel Garcia says that he didn't know if this would work as well, but he is ready to show the world what they can do together. And this leads us to our next matchup. It is Hawk going not going one-on-one, 2-on-1 handicap match against the Outrunners. Commentary said Hook arrived at the building and wanted to fight, so he gave him two opponents because Hook asked for it. And Hook dominates as you would expect here. They do give a little bit of offense to the Outrunners, who really dominated the first minute of this matchup, but Hook kind of no-sells it, does a double clothesline, does a double Northern Light suplex, then the red rum to one of the Outrunners to get the victory here. 2 minutes, 36 seconds. Hook getting the victory. We move on to the next segment after we come back from commercial break. Mark Brisco is out for a word in a chat with Tony Schiavone. He's very excited to be here with Tony Schiavone, putting him over. He said he always talks about how he used to watch him on TV, and they were some of the best times of his life, watching it with his older brother Jay. Last week, Brisco was ready to fight with FTR against the House of Black, but they jumped him. They took him out of the matchup. This has been one of the hardest years of his life, or the hardest year of his life, but he's going to keep going, and he's going to keep getting up, because we fight until we can't fight anymore, and we fight for our friends, and we fight for our family, and then we'll fight some more. And this leads to the lights going out and House of Black showing up on the Contron. They warn Brisco that everything that they can take from him can go just like that, snap of their fingers. And they promise, Malachi Black promises to eradicate Brisco from professional wrestling. I like the starts of this feud between House of Black and and Mark Briscoe here. We get a highlight package of the Cope Open, and it returns next week in Vegas when Adam Copeland returns. And then we go into some women's action as Serena Deeb is her second week in action. And she's going up against one of the highlights of AEW's women's division right now, Queen Amanada. These two women had a very physical matchup, very technical base, with Deeb more technical side, as Amanada has a more Joshi, hard hitting, strong style to her. But it was Serena Deeb who, regardless of Queen Amanada blocking the detox on many occasions, she instead went after the knee, does a figure four around the ring post, and then locks on the Serenity Lock to pick up the victory in 10 minutes. Good matchup here. Next up, we got Swerve Strickland. He is coming out with Prince Nana for a word ahead of his third matchup against Hangman Adam Page on Dynamite. He says that it's Black History Month, and he talks about the people who paved the way for him. People like Ron Simmons, people like one of his good friends, Kofi Kingston, people like his six, keep it at home here, Athena, the Ring of Honor Women's World Champion. Soon he'll add his name to that list of world champions, but Tony Schiavone asks, but what about Hangman Adam Page? And what about what he said that Swerve can't beat him without the Mogul Embassy? Strickland doesn't buy it because he's beaten Page twice, so now he's going to do it again and become Black History. He's winning the AEW World Championship at Revolution. No one's getting in his way, not Samoa Joe. But then he tells Nana, who says that he'll be at ringside, he'll be by his side. It's all about the Mogul Embassy. Swerve tells Nana no interferences, so there are no excuses. This sounded like a babyface promo, and I wouldn't say it was a bad one. This was a good babyface promo. Swerve works at this point as a tweener who can go against anyone in the company, and that works as the world champion. We hear from the other best character in AEW right now, Timeless Tony Storm, who is mad at Deonna Palazzo. And no, she still didn't see Mariah May's matchup. Now, though, she wants a public workout and a cranberry juice. Very good stuff from Timeless Tony Storm, who will go against Red Velvet on Dynamite this week. So Red Velvet had a warm-up match and looked pretty good here. Red Velvet picking up a quick victory over Vert Vixen in 2 minutes, 19 seconds, going one-on-one with the AEW Women's World Champion on Dynamite on Wednesday in Phoenix. And then finally, you had the Patriarchy, the TNT champion, Christian Cage, Killswitch, and Nick Wayne going up against Daniel Garcia and FTR. This one was an awesome way to close the show. All six guys really working well here. I love Christian Cage being the sneaky, slimy heel, and how that worked in juxtaposition to the hard-working baby faces that are the FTR and Daniel Garcia. And the hard-working baby faces paid out in this one here, as Daniel Garcia picked up a win with again his finisher at this point, the jackknife pin on Nick Wayne, getting the 1-2-3. This one got plenty of time. You had different parts of this matchup, different people taking heat, a couple of hot tags, good action throughout, and a good story being told, as it seems that Daniel Garcia has positioned himself to be a top contender for the TNT Championship. I don't know if his latest victory in trios action will help him get into the top 5 in the singles division, but we shall see. But it definitely played out here, as he did have a promo after the show setting the claim for the AEW TNT Championship. But that is all for my review of AEW Collision. Like I said at the top of the review, let me know in the comments down below what you thought. I thought this was an excellent edition of Collision. Thumbs up for me. Out of 10, I'm going to give this one of my highest ratings. I'm going to give this a 9 out of 10. There is really no flaws here. You got 2 women's matches, which we always ask for from AEW. You have a great main event in the trios division with Garcia picking up another solid win, setting his sights on the TNT Championship. You got Eddie Kingston and Brian Keefe, another standout performance from Brian Keefe, getting the All Elite graphic, becoming an official member of the roster. You had the good women's matches, Serena Deeb and Queen Amanada, the best out of the bunch. Red Velvet Velvet getting a solid win before she versed Timeless Tony Storm. Good promos by Swerve and Timeless Tony Storm, and one of the best Collision matches ever with Bryan Danielson and Hechicero. A 9 out of 10 in my book. One of the best episodes of Collision yet. MVP for the show, Hechicero. Dude, Hechicero and Brian Keefe. Those two guys, Hechicero getting the All Elite graphic, Brian Keefe. No, Hechicero should get an All Elite graphic. It was Brian Keefe that got the All Elite graphic, but Hechicero against Bryan Danielson. Go out of your way if you haven't already. You need to watch that matchup. It's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. And Brian Keefe and Eddie Kingston was just a hard hitting banger from start to finish, and just having the emotion at the end with the graphic, and you could see it on Brian Keefe's face. It was a nice moment that I'm going to remember from this episode of Collision. And man, I just, there's no flaws here. There's no real big flaws here, but a couple of great performances. But Brian Keefe, Hechicero, my MVP. LVP, that's the tough part. And I'm going to have to give it to just a jobber on the show, and I'll give it to Vert Vixen. Vert Vixen, a friend of the chat. No, actually, Vert Vixen, you're fine. You did not lose a handicap match. The Outrunners. I could have done without Hook versus the Outrunners. That's probably why it's not a 10 out of 10 show or a 9.5 out of 10 show. I could have done without that. I like Hook picking up a victory. I also like the Brisco and House of Black promo, setting up that rivalry. But I feel like, this is Hook gaining some momentum ahead of probably a rivalry or a matchup with Brian Cage, and getting back into the singles division a little bit more, working with some more main people on the roster instead of just all jobbers. But this felt a regression back to just all jobbers, but I understand you're heating them up. Could have done without it though. So the Outrunners are my LVP, and match of the night. I've waxed lyrically about it for over the past 16 minutes. Hechicero versus Bryan Danielson. Hechicero versus Bryan Danielson. Konosuke Takeshita versus Darby Allin from Dynamite are like the benchmarks of AEW in-ring matches so far in 2024. But you let me know what you think. That is just my opinion. That is not the opinion. Let us have a conversation. Let's interact in the comments down below. Let me know what you thought about this episode of AEW Collision, and join us live to talk about what is going to be one of the biggest episodes of AEW Dynamite this year, the February 7th edition of AEW Dynamite. We will be live on Elite Heat. Josh, the True Draw Josh, will be here. Stat King will be here. And of course, you could join me and Jimmy Macaram live on AE Ramble tomorrow, 12:05 p.m. Eastern time, early start time, as the trade deadline for the NBA. Got to do some NBA content over on Fightful Overbook. 12:05 p.m. Eastern time. Join us live for AE Ramble at an early start time as we review AEW Dynamite as only we can. Check out all the great content we got on the channel right now, like our NXT Vengeance Day review, our True Hill Heat flagship podcast, Rated Raw review, all that great stuff. Drop the thumbs up on the video. Share this video with all your wrestling fans, friends, and family, and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, because I'll be back hopefully next week with Sober Guy JJ, so we can have another full edition, live edition of Collision Discourse. But until then, drop the thumbs up, comment down below. Like I said before, we want to interact with all of you, and I'll see you on the next one. Well, I'll see you live tomorrow on AE Ramble for sure. But until then, this has been Collision Discourse number 23 for the February 3rd, 2024 edition of AEW Collision. I am signing off until next time.